Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we are lucky enough to have an amazing guest joining us, Elizabeth Tishchenko, who is co-founder at Nevemind. Hello, Elizabeth. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Barry. Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Did I do the pronunciation correct? I was practicing, but I'm not sure if I hit it correctly.
Yeah, you did it exactly as it is.
Perfect. So thank you so much for taking time up with you today. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you in person. Before we start talking in depth, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm originally from Ukraine. And since I left my country, I've been traveling around different countries as well. So sort of leading a nomadic lifestyle, but at the same time attending different accelerator program and building different startups. So Nevemind is basically not the first company I built. And in terms of Nevemind itself, I hope I will have an opportunity to probably elaborate a little more about my background. But in terms of Nevemind is intelligence platform that help you to keep your relationship warm and nurture strong business connections.
So if you're keen to tell us about your background, let's jump straight into it. So please tell us about your background.
Right. So my journey started long ago. I finished school in Ukraine, and I realized that I always been tremendously ambitious. I always wanted to do something on the side. So even at school, I was participating in all the different Olympiads, tournaments, represented schools and national, international level. But at a certain point, I realized when I started studying university that I wanted to do something bigger. And at that moment in Ukraine, I didn't see a lot of opportunities. So I decided to move abroad. So that's where everything started to change. And during the first years of my studies, it was management in Kuzminsk University. I met my first mentor who became my business partner. So that's how I decided to start a first company. It's called Cultree. And the mission was to bridge the cultural gap when you travel. So instead of you just attending different boring excursions or trying to figure out by yourself like what to do, at that moment, influencers hasn't been that popular. So we realized we need to match travelers with locals. And that was period of tremendous growth for me, where I had to learn everything with zero budget. Imagine, like I was 18 years old, I had no money. I'm from lower mid-income family, and I started doing sales, marketing, even software development, everything together. So that was a huge growth. And afterwards in my journey, I also built another productivity startup. So we shifted a little bit more in a technical space. We managed to make some money in Cultree, but it was very difficult to do the marketing, and it was timed with a lot of cost, but we decided to bootstrap. So therefore, without raising any funds, it was not sustainable. So I decided to shift. And I tried myself in different roles. It was sales, marketing, product, project management. And I can proudly claim right now that I'm a generalist. So at first, everybody had been saying you have to be specific, you have to specialize in something, be good at something. And although I was trying to find that specific one thing that I would really love and would like doing for the rest of my life, I just couldn't. And realization came to me, I just like wearing multiple hats. I just like touching different grounds and being by nature very curious. I all the time want to experiment and solve different problems. So that's why entrepreneurship is sort of a perfect path for my career. And therefore, about 1.5 years ago, I started my current journey, Nevemind, alongside my wonderful co-founder, Leonor Montero. And here am I.
So you kind of specialized in being generalized. So you kind of tick both boxes at the same time. So tell me a little bit about the networking. How important is it for you, and how important was it for you while you were starting your journey?
At first, I did not realize how connections help you out to succeed. As I left my country, I was exposed to completely a new group of people. So I needed to rebuild my network from scratch. And as I was moving on from one country to another, everything was always starting from scratch. Recently, I had a conversation with a lot of my friends who was also business owners, and they were also continuing their own, pursuing their own path in entrepreneurship or running a company. And as the war in Ukraine began, they all spread it around. And I could really relate strongly to their new situations where they are in a very unknown space where you have to start nurturing relationship. You have to maintain your previous connections. That's what happened with me for the past 8 years, every time starting from scratch. And I just realized how important it is still to stay in touch with people you already know. Every time you get a new idea, every time you start a new business, every time you move, you need to get support from somebody you would already know. And in general, for based on my personal experience, when you're looking for a job, you're looking for a new opportunity, you always start from your network, because these are the people they know. This is the people that you have some track record with. These are the people that you can trust, right? And finding a great way of utilizing your network connection and building strong relationship, caring about people and making the stronger bonds. This is what would basically will enable you to succeed. And many experts knew, like even Benjamin Franklin, he is very known for using Rolodex and taking tiny details about people and making sure that he will nail every single conversation he will have with individual with his network because he cared.
Lovely. Thank you very much for telling me about that. Can I ask a question? Why Nevermind? Is there a meaning why you chose that name specifically?
That's a wonderful question. I would be honest, initially, we started with a little bit different path. So we didn't jump straight forward into network connection management system, but we started building somewhat ChatGPT based on your internal data. The initial idea was trying to find different conversations and files across multiple internal documents, right? Because there's so much of unstructured data, and we were trying to get aggregated this together. And as we were running closed beta with our product, we realized people asking a lot of questions about people within their network, their clients. What did we talk about last time? Who was this person who jumped with me on a call? What decisions did we make? And we just realized it's quite a lot, whether professionally work with a client or finding an investor looking for help. It's often about connections, it's often about people. So we shifted our focus into communications and shifting our focus into making this centralized place for managing your entire interactions.
So what makes your particular company different from the competition?
Looking at the competition right now, so what's out there for this network management, for contact management? There are CRMs, right? Let's look in the CRM systems. Mostly they've been using for managing customers by SMEs and enterprise. So there are larger giants in the market like HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. But a lot of people sharing frustration about those because, first of all, they require a lot of manual input. They require a lot of upkeep. And this entire process is very tiresome. And then what also comes is feature creep. They build and build and build on top. So they cater in probably bigger enterprises and sales teams. But what about individuals who are, for example, serial founders or business consultants? And they constantly need to look for new clients. They are relying on their referrals, right, from their previous successful clients. And they have all these different networks. They have their previous colleagues or partners from previous business, and also inventors and mentors, and then acceleration program, other founders, peers, right? So how would you utilize it? You can make a spreadsheet because CRM is overcrowded, overwhelming, but spreadsheet is exactly the same beast. You need to manually keep it up to date. So a perfect customer persona is somebody who was trying to build for their network spreadsheet or Airtable or something similar. So it's about making something that is intuitive, it is lightweight, and it's proactive. So you don't need to input all the data by yourself, and you don't even need to look at the CRM. At least that's our impression. Why do you need even to have a CRM, right? Because you're searching for something, you need to skim through the data. But what if data comes to you? Does it make sense? You've got a question I'm looking for a software engineer. Maybe I know somebody in my network from the city who would recommend me someone. Or maybe I know already engineers and I'm just not paying attention. So you just write a query and you get all the information from the network. Who are these people who are right now looking for a job? Is there somebody who knows somebody you might be interested in? So that's sort of system that we are trying to make.
That's lovely that you say that. And just piggybacking on the back of that, like what kind of challenges do people face when they're like trying to foster like meaningful relationships within their professional network?
So in terms of challenges, it starts with memory limitation, right? So we don't remember the details. And there are like two types of professionals or personalities. Somebody who will take a lot of diligent notes. Like, I want to remember because I care, so I will start like taking a lot of notes. When you take notes, you can sometimes concentrate on conversation. And even though you take notes, they're like land somewhere out there. So you need still to retrieve them. On the other hand side, there are people with a little bit better memory, but you still cannot keep track of all your connections. So what you're basically doing, you're dropping the ball. You reach out to somebody, you had a wonderful one-on-one, but then you have several more meetings afterwards and you forget about the person, and then several months pass by and you just realize like, oh my God, I haven't catch up with Barry after this wonderful podcast. What a pity. I know that a lot of things has changed in his life and probably I would be helpful, or probably he could become partner for my new venture, but I just like forget about it, or I didn't pay attention. So that's just like the fact that people are dropping the ball, they're not following up on time, and they also want to build credibility. They want to be able to follow up. They want to be able to remember details. Because in some cases, when, for example, you're trying to land a partnership or you're trying to get investor on board, you want to remember the details. You want to remember what is something that brought up last time, something even more about their personal life, to create this initial bond, to create these connections. Like, I know you're playing tennis, it might be a great conversation starter, right? And then if you would ask me, so Elizabeth, how was your vacation? I would be probably pleased to hear that you remembered about me telling you about it, right? So it's already like makes the beginning of the conversation better, therefore increases your chances to land the deal, to close this partnership, to create stronger bonds. The only note I would add here, because I've been thinking a lot about it recently, is how to make it natural and not creating a tool that would just give you information you're not supposed to remember, not supposed to know. So that's a kind of like a different side of that. And therefore we are paying attention. We don't want to extract a lot of external information or data that you wouldn't likely to know. So we wouldn't like to play spies on your behalf and help you land the deal just because you just know everything about this person. It's not the goal. But the goal is kind of help you out on something that you may not be able to rely on your memory. So that's what we are trying to change.
It's really interesting that you say that, because I think I agree with you largely. It's nice to have those personal touches where you remember the personal human side, but then obviously you don't want someone to have like an encyclopedic knowledge about you.
No.
It'd be quite daunting, yeah. When you started this venture,
yeah,
were there some surprises along the way that you thought, oh, actually, I hadn't thought of it like that, and maybe change something, the direction of travel?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot. We are discovering every single day something new. So on one side, what I realized is with recent trends, people's behavior has changed. So they want everything come easily. So in terms of, there are a lot of all this, like, AI, ask me a question type of tools. And by testing our previous version of the product, we realized people do not know sometimes like what to ask because they're not sure like if they will receive any reply. So they would expect information to come proactively to you. So for example, if you have this kind of a smart CRM and you've got like some, question, or you need some help in terms of what you're doing today, you would go for the system and you need probably not to search or to ask. In our case, imagine if the system is smart enough and it will be able to provide you with details or overview that you would have asked. Like even before you would ask, you will already get it. Like for example, Barry, look, this is an overview of individuals that you recently chatted about. Would you like probably to follow up with them? Or you know what? Elizabeth right now is shifting her job and she's starting her podcast. Maybe you will give you some recommendations, how to begin this journey, or maybe you can share with her the tips. And for you, it's like a great touch point. The conversation started to reconnect again back with Elizabeth, right? So those type of insights people really are looking for. So it's like this a smart dashboard that gives you priorities. These are the interactions that your relationship are going stale at. So probably you just need to reconnect with them. And there is even purpose. Why would you need to do that, right? Or now you shifted your focus and now you have a different client base. So these are the people in your network that actually looking for, let's say, graphic designer, and you are doing some consultancy in the graphic design. Right, so these are the cases that we notice that people want. Something that is proactive will require minimum time from their end. Yeah.
I always thought I was immune to selling techniques, but I actually think I need your product in my life right now. So it's really interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, so what tech trends are currently catching your attention within the industry, and what are the driving factors behind their significance?
I would separate trends into two parts. Is a social aspect and this technology aspect, and one basically enable another. So in terms of communications, there is a huge disconnect is right now happening, right? Started with COVID, people shifted heavily into the virtual world. So you're communicating with most of the individuals via Zoom calls. We are tend to less connect in person, face to face. So therefore, the entire processes has shifted. Now, it actually provoked a lot of AI assistant to pop up, right? So now it's a big deal. And this AI assistant right now, like I've been used to fill in this gap of like loneliness or having lack in the communication from the outside. And there are a lot of patterns like people actually communicate with their assistants in order to support their mental health or even like looking for friends. So that's a kind of like sort of a negative trend is happening. And therefore, we believe that tools that would help you with nurturing stronger relationships or helping you to actually reconnect with people or remembering to reconnect with real individuals is something that would be very, very important nowadays. And in terms of other trends, right, like as I said, like from the tech aspect, there is AI, right? So natural language processing heavily enabled right now doing what we are doing and many other companies attempting. So it can understand your language. It can give you wonderful summaries. It can personalize things for you, right? Give you personalized notification, understanding how your day should look like. If you've seen the recent Apple keynote, you could pretty much see like how the capabilities of nowadays artificial intelligence can impact tools that we are using day-to-day basis, like our devices, and enable all these assistants to help us in our like day-to-day lives, right? Probably reducing all these tasks that we hate and spend a lot of time on, and help us focus on something more meaningful on our families and our day-to-day lives.
How do you keep up to date with the industry? I mean, everything's changing so quickly these days. It's like what's happening today could be gone and obsolete tomorrow. How do you keep on top of it?
That's a struggle for everybody nowadays, because I feel that technology is speeds up in increasingly high pace, right? Even the AI if you look at the statistics, like even like few years ago, it was definitely not able to keep up with the human intelligence. Now, if you look latest statistics in language understanding and in image recognition, actually it's more superior than humans, right? In some other aspect though, like mathematics and other areas, humans are still prevail, but I feel it's going to change at some point. We're still very good at, for example, understanding emotions, right? Communication, but AI would come very closely. Therefore, I'm a type of person who's quite optimistic with the trends. And I feel it's more about use cases that we are going to pick and utilize, how we would use this intelligence to solve actual problems that we have, right? Instead of just building something mindlessly. Because often in technology, you just want to run an experiment. Like, for example, creating a superior intelligence to human being. What's the purpose behind it? It's more like testing our limitations, right? But rarely somebody talks about the actual use, right? When you talk about improving sustainability, when you're talking about helping individuals with like those cannot see with the vision. If you can help somebody becoming more efficient at your work and boring tasks, I can understand it, right? And AI is doing a great job. But these days, I feel like finding good use cases and understanding how to develop this technology further, that's what we should be actually focusing on. And we are going to generate a lot of jobs. I'm also a strong believer in that. Many people will lose jobs, but many people will gain jobs. So there will be, even right now, a lot of work related to fine-tuning all these algorithms, models, figuring out how to apply AI in a meaningful way. How to make sure that it's safe, right? With all this safety and privacy compliances is now also becoming a very big deal. So, and also a lot of problems to be solved in the energy sector, as training of large language models is still like very costly, and it also consumes a lot of electricity. So there are definitely a lot of challenges and hands will required to maintain like other like harmful aspect that AI would evoke. But at the same time, we are going to gain in a bigger view, in a bigger picture.
It's really nice to hear you so positive about AI and its future uses. Why do you think that, in terms of the general public, AI seems to be seen more as a threat to jobs rather than as an opportunity?
Why threat? And the fact is, maybe it's in some way related also to the fact of being generalist and having a specialization. Imagine you spend your entire life perfecting a single skill, and now you see AI is instantly in a second can replace your skill set, right? It is threatening because it will require for you a lot of time, maybe not a lot of time, depending on the area where you would like to shift to learn something new. There are different types of individuals who like basically grasping on the go. In terms of startups, every time when there is a new update released by OpenAI or some other companies, there are a lot of jokes on Twitter. It's like a lot of startups are basically dead right now because of all these new updates. And that's what kind of keep you going on the pace with how the technology evolves. But what is very important, I would say, for any individuals, despite their work, despite their position or sector they're in, trying to look at the trends and understand the trends, trying to understand like where is it going, what are the capabilities. If you would figure out that, you can change your positioning. You can, even in the space where you're in, you can find that niche. Maybe I would become an expert who would like to utilize this technology in beneficial way for me, right? If you're a specialist, for example, a content writer, and now AI can write a better content, but there are still types of content where AI probably would not be doing a very good job, or maybe you can shift, instead of you writing content, you can train AI how to write better content for somebody else, or making it very specific for a specific industry, right? So basically these verticals in AI is something that still general intelligence that's available nowadays cannot cover, right? So if you're in the manufacturing industry, if you're in health industry, all these large language models and generic AI are not capable of delivering a very good job in those specific areas, right? So you, as somebody who is an expert in those industries, can leverage that and improve and create probably solution or services within the space that utilizes both, right? It's all about the constant evolution.
But could you just outline, now we're talking about the present, your primary focal points and any ongoing projects or endeavors?
In terms of right now, where Nevemind is, our first and primary focus is actually pushing the final product to the market. So we've been running a lot of tests, and primarily we're trying to focus on the quality. Why quality is so important? We are relying on AI, and we definitely don't want to release something that is half working for the market. So it has to be good in that specific area that it produces results for. So for example, create your perfect reviews or summaries that actually gives you the value that you would expect from the product like that. And our next further focus is going to be on finding those areas, or like this implementation of intelligence in order to solve your tasks at hand that you have. So finding how to make not a static tool that just provides you the entire like library or overview, but gives you something tangible on how you can run your day-to-day life more efficiently. So finding a great way to to query your entire network, finding a specific use or remembering tiny bits of conversation, have smart reminders that will help you to reconnect. Kind of some daily nudges that are not going to demand on your focus or take away your focus from the work, but it's actually something that would make you more productive and more efficient and the specific goals that you established. So we are trying to build a tool that's gonna tap into your workflow nicely and well basically take you from there, right, as a business specialist. And on another side, we're also exploring right now a couple of very specific business cases, as I mentioned in some verticals. For example, sourcing manager in private labeling companies, just to give you a grasp, who need to interact with a lot of suppliers in order to deliver specific goods to their customers. And they receive like tons of data, again, that is unstructured all over the place, their email box, etc. And they just really need the help instead of spending hours of figuring out who those people are, who I need to reach out to. Nevemind is basically help to sourcing it to the surface and give them a very brief and quick overview. So sort of to summarize, is one part is exploring business verticals where we would implement Nevemind that will be highly personalized and specific for them. And at the same time, working on developing this assistance and intelligence that will extract tangible information from their unstructured data.
That was a lovely explanation. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of this podcast. But before we do end, have you got any advice for upcoming entrepreneurs who might be thinking, oh, I'd like to try my own business? You've been through that path, so you might have some great information to share with people.
There are many advices one could give, but I would say just never giving up and constantly learning. Like there are a lot of cases, at least in my past experience, you sort of making an impression that you're moving, that is called emotion, but motion really differs from the action. You know, you can make a lot of great plans and think through and just like trying to find a perfect spot and that, you know, that click that will be 100%. This is what I should be doing. This is a target I should be pursuing. And it's not always working that way. Sometimes you need just to have a 51% of confidence. It's like, okay, it's good enough. I'll just need to give it a go. Give it a shot, fail, reiterate, and do again. And then again, try a new approach, fail. And first, you will learn a lot, even you will not succeed with that startup that you're building. And the knowledge is going to stay with you forever. Next time, you're going to do better and better and better. So just never give up. Try, believe in what you're building. And I believe at certain moment of your life, you will achieve success, whatever definition it is for you.
What incredible advice and a lovely way to end this podcast. So, Elizabeth, I just want to thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely enjoy our conversation, Barry. Thank you again for inviting and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, that was Elizabeth Tishchenko, co-founder at Nevemind.